Hello and welcome to newsclick.in. We are going to be talking today to Sadanand Menon, who's a very respected senior journalist and adjunct faculty at the Asian College of Journalism in Chennai. Sadanand, how do you analyze the media scene in India today?
It's not very difficult. Analyzing the media scene in one word is it's huge, it's complex, and it's just going down the drain at the moment.
You don't believe that all this talk about so many news channels and so on actually gives choice to people, does it?
Yeah, well, that's always the buzz that any market creates. That if on my shelf I have 200 different kind of shampoos, then it's a expression of the consumer's choice, but actually it's all the same thing. And here the proliferation of the media, well, certainly creates a certain space for discussing issues and bringing up certain kind of material to a reading or a viewing public. However, if you put it all together and analyze it, you find that the main areas that this combined media touches is almost the same, and it may be hardly half a dozen subjects that they really deal with. And they effectively keep out the public. This whole thing of the media being the people's voice has been very, very cleverly twisted and turned on its head. And now it's the voice of the big corporates, and it's the voice of the big business, and it's the voice of power. So, like in the media teaching profession, we keep saying that media is something that talks to power. Should be, ideally, but increasingly one finds that media itself has got implicated in power, and it's very difficult for it now to talk to power because itself is power. And of late, I'm sure all your viewers have seen and read all the different problems that go with it, including selling space on in the newspapers, or big parties buying time on television and so on. So this whole idea of independence and independent action is becoming increasingly rare. I keep telling my students, for example, at the Asian College of Journalism, that once you graduate from here, if possible, basically think about how you can be independent and enjoy that. Get to understand that, get to feel that in your pores, in your skin, in your bone. Before then, at some point, you get into the big way, because by then you'll know. It's a very intoxicating thing. You know there is a critical space, and it's a space that's very valuable, and you cannot very easily abdicate that space. But if you don't know that at all, if you don't have that experience, then all you have is what you're going to do, and you just become the cog in the wheel. You might have a sense of thrill and pleasure that you're in front of a camera, you're sort of mouthing something, but eventually it becomes a puppet, a mimicry act. You're speaking somebody else's script.
And do you think that there's a substantial difference in the quality of news and analysis that we get from the print media vis-a-vis the electronic media, especially television?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's I think till the mid 1990s, or probably even into the new millennia, the distinction was sharp. The print media was showing a kind of still showing a kind of seriousness which it's historically connected to. The electronic media, being new and appealing to a different kind of audience, was already into the entertainment mode, and there was nothing much one could do about it. Only they also discovered this 24/7 breaking news kind of thing, converting news itself into then spectacle and entertainment, which has now taken over everything. But that somehow impinged on print media, and we have, I think, post 1995, I would say, in the last roughly 15 years, you've seen the emergence of what we might call a kind of spaghetti journalism, where all serious spaces have been squeezed out, all serious discussion has been cornered and put into corralled almost Increasingly, the ed page and the op-ed page in most papers become those spaces. Even those are being now poached upon by all sorts of commercial ideas or even lifestyle value ideas. So the life of the mind is on the way out in the newspapers increasingly. There are brave spaces here and there, but the ventures that are then able to hold on to, let's say, the idea of a critique, dissent, or even rigorous analysis are very small spaces. I mean, they do exist in the Indian media. Indian media is a huge thing, but they are marginalized, they're pushed into a corner. And the mainstream has somehow become one undifferentiated space as far as I'm concerned. I'm not able to see too much in that noise. It's very difficult to pick and choose. Again, there are brave journalists, individual voices, wonderful, intrepid, let's say, foot soldiers in the media who are sticking on there and doing things. A large number of people have stepped out. They have become scholars in their own right, experts in their own right. They write books, they run centers, but they simply could not survive in that kind of a mad situation. So I would say the difference between print and electronic has now more or less got erased, and it's become one contiguous, undifferentiated space, which in a conceptual sense is something that converts news into entertainment.
And how do you see the emergence of new media, for instance, the internet and so on? There was a time when the internet began, or it sort of became more accessible to a lot of people. There were great hopes from the internet. It seemed as if it was a new space that was opening up, a democratic space and so on. Do you hold that view still? Do you think that there are possibilities still, or is that space also more or less now constrained?
Yeah, I think the idea of the internet being more accessible, more democratic, more human, more personalized space, that still holds. I mean, it's not, you cannot abandon that idea yet. But when one sees the limitations of that, the early euphoria one needs to now temper with larger questions of the effectuality of the internet to mobilize people. One finds that while on certain kind of global scales it has succeeded, say during WTO meetings and all that, it has mobilized a certain kind of people. But on a day-to-day basis, one finds that the internet in fact creates a certain kind of somnolescence. You sit back, you signed a petition online, and well, you've done your job, and that's it. So it's a kind of a device that has become like a substitute for activism, and I find that a bit disturbing. I think if internet had been a trigger for more activism out in public and more critical thinking out in public, it would have been much more, lived up to the potential much more. I'm still not convinced that it won't do it. I think one lives in that hope, but it needs to be triggered, and those triggers still haven't come. Maybe in a crisis it will come. India still hasn't gone through the, let's say, emergency kind of experience, where these kind of new methods of finding a way to bypass censorship, bypass regulation, that might happen. But internet has the potential to do that, which I don't think has been tested yet in our context.
And how do you respond to blogs?
Yeah, it's part of the same thing. It's I think this whole idea of individuation, that I have something to say, my life is the most important, all of which is true, but the way it is presented, the way it comes out.
It's certainly not the most important. My life can't be the most important.
No, exactly. Therefore, it emerges as a new narcissism.
Correct.
So, gazing into the mirror, you enter your blog, and I think it can still produce some fantastic literature. But as a media tool, I'm not at all sure that blogs and Twitters and Twitter, we've seen the disaster with certain people. But I still haven't understood how this will create a critical space in the media.
Thank you very much, Sadanand.
Yeah.